Hi all, this is Dr. Fowler, and I wanted to give you a short video and discuss both the literature review forum and also the forum for the movie Obsession. I'm combining those two because, as you know, the holidays are coming up and I'm going to be doing some traveling, so I'm not sure that I'm going to have the time to make another video next week. So please bear with me. I'm going to talk for a few minutes about the literature review forum and the movie Obsession, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about Muslim extremism in Europe. As far as the literature review forum goes, all of you came up with some really good sources. I was particularly intrigued by the source document that talked about how at least one Muslim extremist had been given a tour of the FBI facility. This really doesn't pass the common sense test, but it certainly does highlight how political correctness rules many things. And this ties into what I'm going to say in a few minutes about Muslim extremism in Europe and political correctness. So I really did think there were some excellent sources there. As far as the movie Obsession goes, I would not personally have picked that movie for the class, and the reason I say that is because it's clearly Western propaganda, and I really dislike propaganda, whether it's Western, anti-Western, or any other kind. I really prefer to just have the facts and then make up my own mind. Like all good propaganda, of course it does have some truth in it. Some of the things they say, though, are a little off base, I think. For example, I personally do not see a huge link between Nazi Germany and modern Muslim extremism. There were some linkages, and of course there are some comparisons. I mean, you know, you had the Hitler Youth, and of course you have brainwashed youth in some Muslim countries, at least some Muslim countries today, as you can see from like Palestinian TV and that sort of thing. But as far as a strong link there, I don't think so. You know, you have one or two places in the Muslim world that want to form radical Muslim states like ISIS, ISIL, or the Taliban. But, you know, Germany was a modern, technologically advanced, largely homogeneous, you know, European state with a long history. I just don't see the comparison between the nebulous nature of modern Muslim extremism and Nazi Germany. I don't see that. Now, having said that, there were some linkages. At that time, the Palestine area was under the control of Britain, and of course Germany was at war with Britain. So they did have some, I would say, relatively extensive contact with the Grand Mufti of that region, who really wanted to pursue an anti-Jewish stance. And of course that fit right into the Nazis, but on the other hand the Nazis would have considered him to be, in their parlance, subhuman. So they were willing to deal with him for their own ends, but you know, really wouldn't have considered him to be an equal. So yeah, I don't really see a strong link there. But again, as I said, there are certainly some things in it that are true. And it is also true that Americans need to wake up to the fact that, as far as I'm concerned, Muslim extremism is an existential threat to the West. So I'll close my comments on that there. As far as Muslim extremism in Europe, I've done some more research on that lately. It certainly is an example of what happens if political correctness rules over what I consider to be common sense. Now, I'm an old country boy, an educated country boy, but I'm from Appalachia, so you know, I like common sense. And that doesn't pass the common sense test to me, to allow people to come to your country who have no intention of integrating into your society at all, but want to create a totally new society which does not incorporate the values that you have. To allow that in your country in the interest of saying, oh, I'm politically correct, is, to put it nicely, less than wise. the research that I've done recently, I think around the time of the Paris attack, I shared with everybody that there were, I believe, in the vicinity of 750 enclaves for Muslim extremists in France. There are also, I believe, 55 in Sweden, and Sweden has had an unbelievably increased crime rate, I believe, since the days that they began to allow Muslim extremists to move into that country. You can look that up. I'm not going to say too much more about that, but it's, from what I saw, rather shocking. Norway, also in Finland, have both had problems as well. My understanding is that Denmark has taken somewhat of a stand against Muslim extremism and has placed controls on their border, which has caused them to catch some negative feedback from the EU itself. The same goes for Switzerland, which, depending on which source you look at, either their national referendum voted not to have any more mosques built, or minarets, or prayer towers built. Something. I'm not really too sure of the nomenclature on that, exactly how it's written, but at any rate, it caught quite a bit of negative commentary, or it caught negative commentary from other members of the European Union. It would be interesting to see if the opinions of those who are more politically correct in those countries have begun to change since the Paris attacks, because the Swiss referendum was before the Paris attacks. We also have incidents in the UK that are pretty shocking. So I think we should draw the lesson from there that what the Europeans have allowed so far have certainly not been wise, and we should take that into account when considering any sort of legislation in this country to control immigration. So give that some thought, and feel free to contact me either by email or to call me on my office hours in the classroom, and we'll talk about it. All right, thanks a lot. Have a great week.